I don't know at this point whether it was my idea or Yvette's idea. Was it your idea? I don't know whose idea it was, but whoever's idea it was, we ended up doing the Odyssey review in togas. I don't know. I don't know what we were doing, but she looks good though.
It was fun.
Me, I don't know what this is. Be easy on me. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
We are here to review the Odyssey, and with all the controversies coming out with the Odyssey about the period accuracy clothing, we thought that we would dress up in period accurate clothing. This is somewhat authentic. This is like a toga, it's Greek.
Well, your little tag there says room essentials from Target.
You look really good in toga. I look like a baby. We actually were gonna wear these to the movies, but it gets a bit drafty. I'm feeling a lot of draft down there. But let's talk about the Odyssey. This is gonna be one of the biggest events of the year, so I obviously was very excited. But to be honest, I'm not like the biggest Nolan head fan. I like most of his films, but there are some times that Nolan doesn't do it for me as much as he does for everyone else out there, and I think you're the same way, right?
I guess my question to you is, would you consider me a Chris Nolan fan? Am I allowed to call him Chris?
You can call him Chris. We know Chris. I think you're more drawn to his time-bending movies. I think you like Memento, you like Inception.
I love Memento, I love Inception.
You weren't a fan of Oppenheimer that much.
Yeah, I think the struggle for me is I'm not huge on war films and I'm not huge on very like manly films.
Right.
He's a very manly dude. Yeah. I think all his movies are very manly, so sometimes there is no point of entry for me as a very girly girl. I do think that he's a very smart man, and I do like the intelligence that he interweaves into his films.
I will admit too, and I don't think I've ever emotionally cried at a Christopher Nolan film. I think they're really well orchestrated and really well designed films, but I don't always find myself really accessing it from an emotional level. They definitely stimulate your brain and your eyes, but maybe don't stir the heart. And we're empaths, so that's kind of our thing.
Yes. But then on the other hand, I've been a big fan of the Odyssey, like, since the first time I read it. I mean, everyone read it in school, right? And I feel like even before actually I read it, I was really into Greek mythology specifically, which is why I was excited for it, but also why it was a little bit trepidatious.
Yeah.
But after watching it, I can officially say that I was so... Nip slip! But now coming out of the Odyssey, I can officially say that I was a huge fan of this.
Yay!
I really, really, really liked it. There was so many times where I was so like excited and joyous in my seat for how good it was turning out. I really liked it.
Yes, I knew for sure that when I came into this movie, obviously we were going to get the spectacle, but this was one of my favorite Nolan films that I've ever seen.
Like, I gotta say, I don't know if there's anybody who I can think could have done it better. I think the source material is like perfect for him and his style and the things that he has interests in.
Yeah.
And like what his strengths are.
Yeah, it follows a lot of the similar themes of other previous Nolan films.
Yeah.
I did not expect this movie to be such a strong message about anti-war. In many ways, this is very much a companion piece to Oppenheimer. Our main character, Odysseus, is kind of reflecting back like Robert Oppenheimer on his choices, wondering whether this was the right thing to do, whether we're breaking the rule of what kind of the Zeus's law they keep bringing up. Odysseus is breaking his disillusionment that he is this great hero who's done all these great things, but now coming to terms and realizing, well, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. I think this movie, like Nolan's other movies, is just so well structured. It's listening to a little bit of the story. Previously, I didn't read the book. I know you did.
Yes, I've read the book before, and I honestly really enjoyed the changes that he made. I didn't mind them at all. You know, telling it out of order is already kind of a thing in the poem anyways.
Right.
Because it's based on storytelling, a lot of it. And he did that as well. It's not like in chronological order. And I think it worked. I think he's really good at that stuff already to begin with. Like we said, in Memento and Inception, there's a lot of like time-bending rules that happen.
Yes.
And I think he's just already an expert at that to begin with.
I think if you haven't read the Odyssey or don't know anything about the Odyssey, I think you do want to watch at least a like 10-minute summary of the Odyssey coming into this, just to get your groundings.
I will say though, the lady next to me, I don't think she knew anything about the Odyssey because she was like, being shocked at things. And I was like, I already know the ending to the story. Obviously, most of us do, but I don't think she did. And I think she was enjoying it on a whole new level.
Yes.
So I don't know.
In the beginning, I think the first half, of course, I'm blown away by the scale. I'm blown away by this, like, mythical story about gods and monsters and all that stuff like that. But in that second half, this thing really settles into a different tone, I felt. Something that was much more haunting.
He made it his own, and he put in a lot of what really resonates with him. He does focus a little bit on like innate human behavior in the sense that we are not all good, we are not all evil, but sometimes bad things happen because of our behavior. He highlights things in a way that I think feel layered and interesting.
This movie's not just about war, but it's about the war that comes after the war. He didn't need to do that. He could have just told a really adventurous story that was fun to watch, but he really like digs into and tries to build this thing out with something to actually say.
Yeah.
And that was something that really surprised me.
Yeah.
Again, I knew I was going to get the spectacle, but I didn't know I was going to get such a rich, like, moral tale about humanity, aftermath of war. I did not expect that. And again, we're just coming out of the movie right now. Like, we just walked out of the movie like 20 minutes ago. There's a lot of things that this film is. Like, it is an adventure film. It is this really serious, haunting drama. But on top of that, there's some horror elements in this film. This film gets really creepy at times. Mm-hmm. We should probably talk about the spectacle of this really quickly. I think the way it's shot is incredible. It's so beautiful to look at. Stunning, massive, massive landscapes. The sound design, personally, it worked for me. You were like, at a certain point, like closing your ears.
I don't know what's
so
going
loud.
on with my hearing. I think my hearing's just a little sensitive sometimes. It was really loud for me sometimes. And it felt better to plug my ears because it was almost painful.
Yeah.
Also, I felt like the levels of dialogue sound versus action and music sound, we could have turned the notch up a little bit on the dialogue sound and turned the notch down a little bit on the music and, action sounds for me personally.
There's a few lines maybe that we missed because we were like, wait, what? Because it was drowned out a little bit. There's some things in this film that you're like, you don't even understand how they shot it, right? It's ironic that Odysseus is kind of taking these men on such a treacherous journey, taking them through hell. And in turn, it looks like Nolan is doing that to his crew because this looks like a hell shoot to be on. The waters are crazy. There's constant rain shooting down. It looks like a real ass old boat that they just built and they're all actually like operating this boat. It looks like insane. But Nolan going the distance to bring us this kind of spectacle is what he's known for. There's no other director that can kind of insist upon being as practical as you can. But thank God there's at least one of them because this is like where a lot of films falter. They always use so much special effects. But here, it just gives the film a much needed texture, adds to the realism of everything. I love the music personally. I didn't even think the dialogue was that bad. I know I've heard some quibbles about the dialogue. Personally, I didn't think it was that bad.
I think for me, that was the one thing that did sometimes take me out of the story was sometimes the dialogue scenes. It felt just a little unadorned, like very straightforward and like simple.
Nolan can be a little explainy at times in his previous films, but I kind of like that he has like a no kids leave behind policy. Like he wants everyone to kind of get it. I think when you have two really strong actors, I think they make it work a little bit stronger than other actors.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about it right now.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about actors because do you have like a favorite and a least favorite actor?
Okay. Fresh out of the theater, I have to say that my standout, my MVP, if I had to pick only one, I would probably say Anne Hathaway for me.
Really?
Yeah. I think she was definitely pushing for it. I think she was definitely like trying to get that Oscar supporting actor nomination, but I thought she was really strong. It immediately washed down The Devil Wears Prada 2 for me.
I think the scenes that she has with actors that are doing well, like Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
But then when she has scenes with her son,
Tom Holland,
it's a little like questionable. And I kept thinking like, oh, Anne Hathaway's like not hitting, like it's not hitting the spot. With that said, I'm not trying to say that Tom Holland was bad or anything.
Right. I don't want to pick on Tom Holland too much because...
Did you feel like he was a little bit of like...
if I had to pick a weakest link, maybe I'd go with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Because, specifically one of the scenes with Anne Hathaway, I feel like Anne Hathaway is like serving hard balls on that tennis court. And I do feel a little bit like him clunking the balls. Like every single time she gives him a good serve, there's never like a good rally that comes from it.
It's so hard to explain because he was not bad.
Yeah, no,
he was not bad. He had some really great, like, little crying, emotional scenes.
Right.
He is. Just sometimes, for some reason, the language or the way he was saying lines was, like, not hitting at the same level as everyone else. Just something was off. Just
Could be a little bit on Nolan, too. To not
creates a
have
little bit of dissonance. Yeah, I mean, it could have been a little bit on him. I think he probably hired all these actors, and he's like, these are all A-listers. Like you said, like, you guys can cook. I'm just going to sit here and watch.
Right.
But, you know, and focus on the things that he likes to focus on. But anyways, I think for me, a highlight was John Leguizamo.
Yeah, he was strong.
It was a very kind of sweet, endearing, emotional character, and I gravitate towards that. So for me, he was a highlight.
For someone who doesn't tend to get many opportunities to work in these big movies like this, I thought he was really damn good too.
Yeah. I mean, I love him in Romeo and Juliet. Like,
I mean, there's a lot of great performances here. Samantha Morton, personally, I think had a very strong supporting performance. I mean, there's just a plethora of little tiny supporting performances that were all fantastic, just like Oppenheimer was. I think Matt Damon was quite good in this. I quite liked Elliot Page in this as well.
Everybody was like great for their role. That was one of the things I was worried about early on, where I was like, I don't know about the casting. It's all these celebrities, but they all did fine. Everyone was great.
Yeah, I mean, even talking about the controversies leading up to this film with the Odyssey, about the whole thing with, you know, Lupita Nyong'o, but I just thought that the whole thing was so dumb.
Yeah.
You know, we're debating whether Lupita Nyong'o's hot. Like, really?
Not only that, but there's theories that in this film, they say that, oh, Helen of Troy was the reason why they went to war because she's so beautiful, the beauty of Helen of Troy. But if you really think about it, there's always been discussion about Helen of Troy, whether she was kidnapped or whether she left on her own volition. Now, if she left out on her own volition and her husband was going to get her, it was more of an ego thing there, not so much like the most beautiful woman is being kidnapped and taken away. So there's one thing for those of you who want to go down this route. And two, in this movie particularly, Nolan makes it very clear that the whole Helen of Troy going to save her was just an excuse to go to war, similar to how we go to war today, where we use excuses to go take over different countries.
I try not to ever care about anything that we see in a trailer before the movie comes out. It's like complaining about your food before you've even been served yet. Like, let's just wait to get the dinner plate to see if Nolan has a specific reason why he's casting Lupita Nyong'o. That also goes down to the accuracy of the costume. Like, it's not authentic to Greek times, as if there's not a sea monster in this film or a cyclops. I was telling you, Yvette, I don't even think any of these people even have a copy of the Odyssey in their bookshelf. And then you were like, I think I have a copy of the Odyssey. And yeah, she does. Look, she had a copy of the Odyssey. And then I go through it. She has notes. You little dork. But overall, I thought this was an incredible film. Absolutely loved it. I'm so glad to hear that you loved it as well. But that's our general thoughts on the film. And since a lot of critics get to put out their reviews early, we always like to offer something a little different and talk about spoilers. If you haven't seen the Odyssey, stop watching this review. This is your official warning to stop watching. But those who want to talk Odyssey, stick around. Let's try to rip through this plot. This is going to be an interesting one, but ultimately it takes a similar path to the original Odyssey, I think.
Yeah, there's a few changes if you read the book. So if you read the book, it starts the same as the book. We're in Ithaca with Penelope and Telemachus. We learn very quickly about the whole story with Penelope and the suitors and the coat she's weaving and, you know, the fact that she's procrastinating because she's waiting for her husband Odysseus to come home and the suitors are waiting for her to pick a new suitor and get married. We get to see a flashback of Penelope and Odysseus when he first leaves. Very important scene that happens here is that Penelope and him make plans for the future because he knows he's not coming back for a very long time.
Yeah.
And she gives him her Athena pin so he can wear it so she can tell him, you know, when he comes back or whatever.
She even recommends that they flee.
Yes, and he says, no, I want you to remarry if I don't come back within a certain amount of time.
Right.
So you get all of that context in little flashbacks. So again, maybe it might be disorienting for some people.
Right.
I loved it. I loved how quick and just how we get into it.
They also introduce Robert Pattinson is kind of the real person who has his eyes on Penelope.
We do learn a little bit about his backstory in like storytelling and like little flashback. I guess it can be a little confusing in the beginning because, like I said, this beginning part setting up this whole story goes fast. So what's happening is that they're drafting people by pulling little like sticks. And I guess depending on what pattern is on that stick depends if you're going to war or you're not going to war. And we have Elliot Page's character who's like in grade school at the time. And then we have Robert Pattinson's character, which is like maybe a high schooler at this time. And what happens is that Robert Pattinson he's being drafted.
He's being drafted.
And Elliot Page's character is not being drafted. Yeah. So then Robert Pattinson trades sticks with Elliot Page's character, which is a little boy at this time. But anyways, we see some flashbacks of Telemachus learning to spar. And we realize that John Leguizamo is another kind of like father figure mentor to him who guides him. He's a blind pig herder. We also get to see Telemachus. He leaves with his mentor to go find his father, to go learn, about him or to find his whereabouts. In this beginning part, there's a lot of flashbacks. There's a lot of storytelling. We learn a little bit of backstories to everybody involved.
Yeah.
And then we basically get on the journey. So then we cut to Odysseus and he's with Calypso at this time. Now, if you know in the book, also, this is how it goes. It doesn't go in chronological order. We start at the end of his journey, which is with Calypso.
Right. He's old, he's weathered, he's been through a whole lot, and he's basically just been living on this island for years, but we don't know that quite yet.
Yeah, so we learn through his storytelling to Calypso. So in the book, the gods get involved, they force Calypso to give him back, so there's a lot of differences here. I want to say that in the book, he actually tells it to Alkinoos, and Alkinoos gives him a ship to go back home. But in this, it's different. He's telling the story to Calypso. And Calypso is a lot nicer in this, actually, because in the book, she's pretty, like, greedy. She's, like, wants to keep him, and the gods force her to give him back, and she doesn't want to. So she's keeping him, like, high on lotus
Pretty
leaves.
much. He's kind of like...
He's all, like, messed out.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like on opioids from like an injury. Like that felt very metaphoric of someone who becomes kind of reliant
from PTSD or something, huh? Like
reliant
post-war
on drugs and stuff, like post-war,
post-war PTSD or something. Actually, you're right. I feel bad for laughing now. But yes, he's on lotus leaves.
He's also losing his memory too.
Yeah, well,
he's what's happening.
From the lotus leaves.
Yeah, from the lotus leaves.
The lotus leaves make you lose your memory, but something happens. So Athena starts coming to him and reminding him and pushing him to like push Calypso to find out what's happening. Throughout the book, Athena is like Odysseus's like guardian.
Yes.
And in a way, she is his guardian in the movie too, right? Did you take it that way?
Yeah, well, we can get to that part when we get to it. But at this point in the story, this is where Odysseus tells his tale to Calypso. And this is where we get all those chapters that we kind of know about with the Odyssey.
Yeah, the very iconic adventure. It starts with them at the beach. They just won the war, but apparently they've been there for a while. When they leave, they separate ways. Agamemnon, Aggie, he actually has a separate ship. He's going straight home. And Odysseus can't go straight home because they don't have enough resources, enough food to last him the whole trip. So he tells his ship crew people that he basically is like, it's okay, we're gonna stop on the grocery store at the way home,
Trader Joe's Island.
Yeah, we gotta stop at Trader Joe's Island and get some groceries. We don't have enough food, right? And they make a pit stop for some food and resources. But when they get there, you see that they've like burned the city down and they're like stealing all the resources. And he's having a conversation with an old man. And here's where the first themes start to be shown. I mean, we've already learned a little bit about the hospitality themes, and the reason why Penelope is keeping all these suitors is because of Zeus's law means that you have to take people in when they come visit you. You have to accept people with open arms and feed them and be hospitable and house them and things like that.
Treat others as you would like to be treated.
Yes.
I think is also a kind of a synonym.
That's an ongoing theme throughout that's Zeus's law. So then he goes to this island and he asked this old man, he says, why didn't you take us in when we came? You rejected Zeus's law, so I had to destroy it.
But again, he's playing God.
Yes. Odysseus has quite a big ego and he needs to be in control. So anyways, he's telling this old man that, and this old man says to him, I thought you were the sea people. Now that's going to come back later.
And then we go to another island where they try to forage for food. They see a sheep, and then they walk inside the cave to follow the sheep, and that's where we get this chapter with Cyclops. Cyclops comes to the cave. He moves the boulder over the cave, and while they're in the darkness, two of the men get just snatched up. They bite off their heads.
And so why did he get sleepy right after eating one man? He ate one man and he was like, oh, I'm stuffed. I'm going to take a nap. What was that about?
I feel that way after I eat a large Quiznos. But either way, they come up with a plan to basically, the stab him in the eye. Now, one thing they did take away is the whole thing where
getting him drunk.
Yes, like there was in the book, I think he barters and talks with them more, right?
Yes. Yeah, so he gets him drunk, and then
he
once
tricks
he gets
him. He tells him his name is Nobody,
which is again in the themes of trickery.
And they kind of skipped that, and that was a little disappointing, to be honest. But in the middle of the night, they still do that. They still stab him in the eye in the middle of the night, and then well, the one thing they mentioned though is that they were going to kill him in the middle of the night.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes. But then I thought it was really good the way Matt Damon's like, no.
Yes, and you know what? I think that's the one thing that Nolan's doing is trying to show us what we know in the book is that Odysseus is known for being very cunning, very smart. So he's the only one who will stop and observe.
But it would have been kind of dumb if they did think of that.
I guess.
Can you imagine doing that and then going, oh, wait, how do we move this boulder?
True,
it's kind of dumb.
But none of them had thought about it except for Odysseus. So I think it's showing that like Odysseus is quite a cunning, smart, person.
I'd be the most smartest person in this time then if no one can think of that except Odysseus. The great Odysseus is the only one with the great ideas.
So they escape the same way where they like pretend to be the sheep. In the book they like hide underneath the sheep or something. In this they like put some like hay or something on their backs to like get through. But
very similar to sheep. Yeah,
that's true.
Because, I feel a scarecrow and I go, that's sheep.
How did you feel about the Cyclops' face? Did you like it? How it was kind of like warped sideways?
Yeah, I liked it.
When
he screams too? Freaking loud, right? The other difference is when he finally escapes in the book, he announces his name, but in this one, he just shoots him with an arrow as revenge for killing his men, right?
Yeah. I mean, Odysseus throughout shows to have quite impetuous behavior. He can be very impulsive sometimes, and other times he can be very strategic and thoughtful.
Right.
Why would he just shoot him and then put his men in danger? Even his men look at him like, what is your problem?
Well, they talk about it on the boat in the next scene. They say, why did you do that? I think Nolan was very clever, though, because I think it speaks to the overall theme also of the cost of revenge. It
also shows the different dimensions that humans display in general. Like, we are all contradictions of ourselves sometimes, We can be good in some ways and then bad in other ways. We have natural human impulses. Sometimes we don't regulate our emotions properly and we do things that we regret later, or we do things that put ourselves in danger. Yeah, so then they keep going down on their next journey. So here's the thing. They talk about this on the ship when they're leaving. Polyphemus, is that his name? The Cyclops' name? Is actually
Zeus's son.
No, he's actually Poseidon's son.
Poseidon's son, right.
In the book, all Cyclopses are children of Poseidon. So Poseidon is not an actual god in this. He's represented by just the ocean and the water. Now, him and his crew are now under the assumption that they've upset Poseidon and they're possibly going to suffer because of it, which they do.
After we leave the Cyclops Island, we now will go to another island, and that's where we have these big old giants. What are they called?
I don't know. It's just the land of the giants, I guess. They're like low on resources, So they're like, they keep stopping at all these islands looking for like a 7-Eleven or something because they need food. So they stop at this island and there's a little kid, a little girl there or something. And it's in the book too, where, she calls her family who are giants and they start to slaughter them.
They're slaying them, throwing them across trees, smashing them. And they tuck-tailed out of there. They're running back for their ships.
Yeah, so I think this is when his crew starts to realize, like,
maybe our captain's not doing...
Maybe our captain's cursed.
Yes. Those giants come in the water and they start smashing the other ships. They're rocking them down. So I think he had like 4 ships. Wow. And now like he only has the one left. Wow. Odysseus and his crew.
Like, this whole story is a little bit like 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. We start going...
That's the metaphor I wasn't expecting.
We start eliminating monkeys, and then we're down to 1 by the very end. So, FYI. So, anyways, then they go to the next land, which is probably, you think, was that your favorite?
That was my favorite. Yes, we get to this land where we meet Samantha Morton, who's playing, what's her name? Cersei. Not to be confused with Cersei from Game of Thrones.
They get to this island, and the crew is like, Odysseus, we think you should stay and we should go because we don't want to be around you anymore. You're bringing our vibe down. sir, you're probably cursed. And so the men start wandering up the mountain and they start to see very exotic animals. They see a lion, a leopard, a panther. Did you get the feeling that the cats were looking at them with messaging in their eyes?
To be honest, I didn't notice.
The lion specifically, when they first see the lion, the men are scared, but the lion is looking at them almost like, save yourself.
Well, that's true. They don't have any interest in attacking them, do they?
They're just looking at them like, like their eyes are like, don't go up there, you know?
That would be funny if they were like, with their like paw.
So anyways, they get to the very top and they see this like kind of like middle-aged lady who looks very unassuming.
She has them put their shields and their knives on the back porch.
It's like a graveyard of shields and armor of previous men that have been there.
But yet that doesn't stop them from
Why
indulging.
wouldn't that be a red flag?
They're just like, strange.
I think, again, coincides with a lot of the themes of the book, that these men are
dumb.
Naturally animalistic side of us takes over sometimes.
So they eat this lady's nasty ass. I don't even know what it was. It's like tofu.
Okay, look. No, I think it's cueritos. Basically, if you're Mexican and you know what cueritos are, it looks like cueritos, which I think is like pork rinds or something. I don't know.
Well, either way, they were like in a trance and they were going to town on them pork rinds. This is where it takes a very sinister, very horror vibe, because as they're eating it, like kind of like zombies eating flesh, they start kind of hallucinating to a certain degree, and you realize this girl is a witch. In the book, she turns these men into animals. But in this film, she quite literally turns them with her hands, morphing their faces like they're like Wallace and Gromit clay creatures, shaping them into animals.
Yes, it was quite creative. I was so enthralled with this part.
I was too.
These men specifically, his crew, she turns them into pigs.
Yes.
And she's literally like claymation. Nip slip, pretty gruesome. Like she's sticking her hands far down their throats.
Oh yes, you're right.
Like,
yes.
It's pretty like, I would say like body horror type stuff. I thought that was very creative. So on the other side of the island, Odysseus shoots down a Bambi deer, and when he goes to go pick it up, it's a human. So then he already knows what's up. Something's going on. There's magic on this island, or there's a god playing trickery on this island. So he goes up and he starts to notice all the different little things that are red flags. The pigs are acting weird.
A boiling tension is brewing between these two, because she's like, why aren't you eating my stew that I so graciously prepared for you? And then he just goes, why is this ring here, right?
Yeah.
Clink.
That ring was a ring that his like right-hand man had been wearing from before, that he took it off of one of his men that died at the Cyclops cave. So he knew that that was his friend's ring. In this point, Odysseus grabs the bird that's nearby and learns that the bird is actually this late Circe's sister that she turned into a bird. And so he's like threatening to, kill this bird. But in the book, it's a little different. The gods actually help Odysseus like learn, and they give him like a potion that like makes him immune to like the pig food.
The fact that Nolan is able to take classic literature, add his own thing, and it's actually kind of better.
I don't know if it's better.
It's better than that. What you just told me.
I don't know if it's better. I enjoy the god stuff. But yes, it's very well done. And it works completely fine in this story. It's a different world, The book is in a more like mythological world. And the story that he's telling is a more grounded, real story.
After this, he turns all them back into their regular form, and she sends him on his way, right, to like some sort of underworld.
She helps him get to the underworld because he asks for advice on to get home, and she says, I can't give you advice, but someone can. And where is he? He's in the underworld. She shows him how to do a ritual to access the underworld. They have to like mix blood and milk and honey or something. I don't know. The prophet comes out and starts telling him what he needs to know to get home.
Very haunting part of the movie, I would say. Yeah. Very haunting.
And so people who are dead are now talking to him.
Yeah.
First person he talks to is Elliot Page, which is actually very upset because Odysseus lied to him.
Yeah.
And that's why he got killed. If you saw the movie, he got killed in the beginning with the Trojan horse. And he's confronting him about a lot of things, about lying to him. And also he's mad at Robert Pattinson. And so he gives him the little stick that he draws when he got sent to war.
This is a really interesting part too, because I think you can get insight into Odysseus's disillusionment with how he thinks people who die in war feel in the afterlife. Because in Elliot Page's point of view, he feels completely manipulated.
And then, to Odysseus' surprise, Agamemnon, Aggie comes, and he's like, what? You're dead? And he tells him the whole story about how his wife, which is the twin of Helen of Troy, killed him with her lover.
Yes,
They both killed him.
plotted his murder, and he's warning him about,
Penelope.
you have an expectation that there will be all rainbows and sunshine after you arrive home from war, but I'm here to tell you, don't believe that.
He has quite a chip on his shoulder about women at this point.
A little bit of an incel.
Yeah, he's a little bit of an incel now.
In the afterlife.
So he's warning Odysseus about Penelope,
Yeah.
To not trust her, basically.
After that, a lot more men conjure up, and it's all the men that were
have died.
sacrificed basically at Odysseus's orders. That's the part in the trailer where he's like, you run!
Before he runs away from the army of men that he's responsible for, Prophet actually gives him like some
Other pieces of knowledge.
Yeah, some warnings. He gives him a prophecy that he's the only one that's going to survive, and Odysseus is like, no, I want my men to survive. The reason why is going to be because, one, they're going to go to a land where there's cattle that they're not supposed to touch. If they touch it, they're all going to die. But also before that, they're going to go through like a whirlpool and like a monster that's going to eat. So then we go through the whirlpool first. He has to go through, I think Charybdis is the six-headed monster, and he has to sacrifice 6 of his men. Some of his men do notice, mainly his right-hand man notices that he has sacrificed 6 men purposefully.
Yes.
And they get in a fight about that. Then it's the sirens, I believe, after that. Or maybe it was the sirens before. I
think it might have been the sirens before that, yeah. Everyone puts wax in his ear to withhold the temptations of the siren, but he actually wants to hear the siren song, so he gets tied up to the mast of the ship. But there's also something to be said too, because they said, what was the song like? He said, it's everything that you once had but lost.
I think because Odysseus is starting to carry a lot of guilt from how many men have died and how many mistakes he's made. I think a part of that is what he heard in the song. Everybody knows the story of the sirens, so they survive that in a way. So anyways, then they go to the cattle land, and they're not allowed to touch the cattle. Odysseus is like, I don't want to stop, because I'm already responsible for too many deaths. And if we go there, you're all going to die. Yeah. And they're like, no, we won't. We won't eat the cattle. We're just going to pick berries and eat grass. And so
it's when you're trying to diet.
Yeah, they're like,
and you're like,
no,
I'm
not even that hungry.
Are you kidding me? We'll go to Crumble. I won't eat anything.
No, get your own fries. I don't want fries.
Oh.
I'm not even hungry. Yeah. So anyways, they go there. And so then they're resisting eating the cattle.
And the cattle are kind of tempting them too. They're kind of going to them like, hey, what you doing?
And they're shooing them away. Like, get out of here. I'm tired of looking at you. You look too scrumptious.
And they're like, moo. Of course, because they haven't eaten in days.
Yeah, Odysseus ends up falling asleep.
Odysseus falls asleep.
And when Odysseus falls asleep,
he sees a little burning ember in the distance. Yes. He goes over, and they're in a hole they've
literally dug a hole, and they're caught with red-handed, eating caught with their hand in the cookie jar. But then Odysseus is like, now you're all gonna die, basically. And he's like, well, we decided that we'd rather die of drowning than die of starvation. So anyways, they go back, and the wind stops, which means you get to go home now.
So they all hop in the ship, and they get to the crazy-ass storm, and their whole ship completely falls apart. And this is the part where Odysseus's men do indeed fulfill the prophecy of dying. They all die. And Odysseus is left alone on an old, I think he's got just a little bit of a boat left.
Yes.
And he gets washed up in the store. And this is where we're finally back to the island with
Calypso.
So we're full circle now.
Yes. So then he's starting to have these very existential conversations with Calypso about what he's done and what he remembers and what he, doesn't remember. And a lot of it could be he's suppressing these memories, because she tells him, he says, it's the lotus, you have me high. But she says, no, the lotus only clouds the mind, not the heart. So she's saying you don't even want to go home because you don't want to face the facts of what you've done. You are the problem in this world, because again, throughout the story, we've been hearing about these sea people who are destroying the, civilization.
Yeah, I do want to interject if I could.
Yeah.
I think this also is a good time to bring up that they're also telling a little bit of the story of what's going on with Telemachus. Is that his name?
Oh yeah, we totally forgot about Telemachus.
Yeah, he goes on his own journey, and we
Yes.
won't get into all the details, but he goes island to island. But he does talk to John Barenthal,
Yes.
right?
This is all like, it's cut in between.
Yes.
We go back and forth. We forgot about him.
And he's basically trying to find out, hey, where's my dad? He goes to island, asking people like, hey, where's my dad? He shows up at John Barenthal's.
It's like, dude, where's my car? But it's
Yes.
like, dude, where's my dad?
And that's where we meet Helen of Troy, too.
Yes. So he goes to see King Menelaus and
Yeah.
Helen. And basically, Menelaus tells him the real story of Troy.
From inside the
from
horse.
inside the horse.
In this first rendition of Troy, I think we get a very like woo-ah, heroic, like the story of legends when it comes to this great, clever Odysseus who had this great idea that they're going to go into the horse. So we get to see it from that perspective. But then later, when talking to Calypso, he's recalling the real story of Troy.
Yeah.
And this is when we are able to see it from a different perspective. And this scene right here, I think, was the tour de force. This was the best scene for me in the entire film. And we get to see it from the point of view of them continuing on after they've rushed in. They go through the city and it is a complete slaughter. They go and slaughter the entire village.
Like men, women, children.
Women and children.
It's quite brutal.
Yes. And he actually drags one woman who is in the embodiment, who has the visual appearance of Athena, who's played by Zendaya. And he actually executes her.
They've stormed, obviously, the temple of Athena, so there's a big statue of Athena, and as they're chopping off the statue's head to like desecrate the temple, they actually intercut that with Zendaya's head also. They don't show it, but we're to assume that she's being decapitated.
So then you can also just see Athena's character representative of his guilt. I really thought it was just a brilliant sequence. That's actually the part where I cried watching the film. I thought it was just devastating and so clever in how Nolan kind of shows it from a different point of view, and where the heroes and villains start to get blurred.
Yeah, because he also, in that part, he explains that, like, actually, in reality, we didn't go there to save Helen. We went there because what they really wanted to do was conquer the land for power, not for Helen.
And then what?
Okay, so then, as you know, we forgot about Telemachus. He's now going back home because they tell him, go back home, get those suitors out of your house. Those guys are going to destroy everything. Yeah. So he goes back and he makes a plan with his mom to get rid of the suitors. The mom's like, let's burn them all down. And he's like, no, we can't, because then I'm going to be exiled. We have to be strategic. You have to marry one, then the rest will leave. Then I only have to kill one. They have a pretty spicy scene. Essentially, she agrees.
Yeah. And at this point, Odysseus is ready to return home. And Calypso releases him, allows him to leave, and sends him on like a little wooden board. And the journey that took him years and years to get home, in kind of like an hour, he's back home like that.
Yeah. And so he's met with Athena, Zendaya, on the beach, and he's like waking up, like, where am I? And she's like, bro, you don't remember?
Recognize your own home?
You don't remember your own house? You're in your own house, dude. So then he goes quietly as a beggar to scope out all the changes and all the different things that have been happening. Basically, Robert Pattinson has hired people to come kill Telemachus because he's like, I'm tired of waiting. I'm just going to kill the kid so that, I can be in power. He hires them and they come and they kind of beat up John Leguizamo's character.
Yes, they do.
And they kill all his dogs.
Yes. And of course, he's blind, so he does not recognize Odysseus. And also, Odysseus finally sees his son, and his father is disguised as a beggar, says, I have a message for you. And he's like, all right, let the beggar in. So they go inside this hall, and again, the suitors are very close to killing him at this point. And
they actually poison all of his men that was with him. And Odysseus tells him, like, your father's alive, basically. Yeah. We need to fix this situation, me and you together.
Yeah.
Basically, he realizes it's his father when he sees the dog, his hunting dog, who finally recognizes him. And it's quite sad.
Yes, it is.
And, he did a good job in that scene.
That was my favorite Tom Holland moment.
Yeah.
Back in the palace, while greeting his wife Penelope in disguise as a beggar. They have this really coded conversation, which I thought was really nicely done. That's where Nolan conveys a lot of the themes of the movie. He kind of spells out the themes of the movie pretty well.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, of course, because, spell out to me, I didn't go to school.
So he tells her, like, I know Odysseus, and he was wearing your pin, and he's alive, and he's going to come back. And, basically telling her he went to war, and he's gone through a lot. And he tells her about, like, the trauma that he's kind of dealing with, like the PTSD he's dealing with because of all the really immoral things that he's done. She says, you're the sea people. And we realize that the people that have been rumored to be destroying civilization has been Odysseus and his crew.
And then she was like, time to pick a new husband. And which I think gives insight into knowing that Penelope has an idea that this is Odysseus, because she proposes the challenge that basically any one of these suitors who can string the bow like Odysseus used to and can shoot an arrow through all these open axes will be my new husband.
Yes, I think Penelope is a very smart woman. I think this is a part of her own trickery, her own wit, her own cunning idea that she has.
All the suitors, one by one, all struggle but fail to string the bow. Even Robert Pattinson, little weakling, he doesn't even try. So then the beggar in the back, who's really Odysseus, says, I haven't tried. And they all laugh and make fun of him. And he goes over and he tries and they all laugh more.
Anne Hathaway was like hopeful, and then she was like not hopeful.
Oh yeah, that was
She
nice.
starts to walk away. And this is the part where like I was getting emotional. Like I didn't cry, but this is the part where I was starting to get like really like rousing feelings, because then he finally does it.
It's like the sword in the stone.
Yes. And then he takes the arrow and he flings it through like the 14 axes or whatever.
Yeah.
And she hears it and she knows in that moment.
Yes.
And she acts quickly. She goes and she takes all her maids and hides them in the back, except not Mia Goth, because she was...
Yes. We didn't even bring up Mia Goth, but she's she's a bad servant.
She's a little spider in the garden.
Yes, absolutely.
And
she's like, no, you're right where you belong.
Yeah. And she like closes her, so then she gets... we're to assume she's going to die.
And then Corey Hawkins, who's one of the suitors, is like, wait, you're Odysseus? And then right at that moment,
Yeah, it's right.
and then it turns into the Quentin movie.
Yes. And
let's rock.
Those of you who've read the book, Telemachus has hidden all the weapons, but I think they even spell that part out, where he hides all the weapons, so the suitors get locked in and they have no weapons, and Odysseus has tasked himself with killing hundreds of suitors.
Hundreds of unarmed suitors.
Yes. While Telemachus is fighting one suitor.
Yeah.
Just one lonely suitor.
But he finally does.
Yeah.
And at that point, Odysseus finishes kind of the job.
Yeah, ending with Robert Pattinson, who has been being a coward this whole time. Like, he's just instructing suitors what to do. Did you like him in this role?
I liked him enough in this role. I think he served the purpose of this role.
I think so, too.
I don't think he was exceptional, but
Yeah,
I don't think he's a villain of all ages. But once Odysseus has him on the ground, he says, oh, and I got this message from Elliot Page, and he shoves it in his mouth, and he has a beautiful, nice reunion moment with Penelope, and he was like, it's me, and then she's like, oh.
I thought it was going to be sweeter.
I thought it was going to be sweeter, too.
I will say, though, there was one part where I almost cried with John Leguizamo's character.
Yes.
In the background, you just hear him say, after all the fighting is done and all the suitors have been dead, he says, are they dead? Is he alive? His loyalty and just like the sweet nature of him, it really touched me, I think.
Yeah, I think I saw his character in that moment as being someone who's like very much just so done with all the brutality and all the ugliness of war and just wants there to be a moment of humanity and peace.
Yeah.
In that point, Odysseus knows that the only way he can truly redeem himself is if he leaves Ithaca with his wife and exiles himself. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't even ask his wife if he wants.
If she wants to go with him.
But nonetheless, that is it. And then the story ends at that point. The last line, I think we didn't even hear it because of the sound mix.
Yeah, but the essence of the last ending, she's saying the war is over, now we can rebuild humanity, like everything's going to be okay. And he says, no, because it just takes time for humans to forget, and then they just repeat it again.
Yes. He says that basically all our mistakes will be forgotten. So that again, gives a little bit of commentary to our tendency to repeat history because we never
Very
tend to learn.
similar eerie ending like Oppenheimer.
Very much so. I thought it was really fantastic. I think it combines all the elements that we love about Christopher Nolan's work.
Yeah, it was quite good. I'm very happy about how it turned out. I am now a Christopher Nolan fan. Hi, Chris. I'm a fan. And I think, what are you going to rate it?
And also with all the complaints that people have been making about how, he has changed this and that from the original Odyssey, that's not accurate. I think we should recognize the amazing changes that he does make to the material and enriches it in his own unique way, which I think is so much harder and I think is much better. I mean, look at Moana, right? What did Moana do? They did a very faithful adaptation to the book, hoping that it will please everyone, and it pleased really hardly anyone.
And isn't that what filmmaking is about?
Exactly.
Being creative.
It's about lending
your
your
own
own
voice.
voice into the work, And I think that kind of proves that Christopher Nolan is not only now the spectacle guy, but he has a lot to say, which this is one of my favorite Christopher Nolan films.
Same. One of my favorite films of the year.
So I guess this is the part where we rate it.
Yes.
I don't know your rating.
You know what? I was toggling between a 9 and a 10 throughout.
I was toggling between a 9 and a 10 too.
I think I landed on a 9 because, just because of the slight dialogue scenes that I felt could have been punched up a little bit more. That's it.
This is the highest 9 I think I've ever given. It's so close to being a 10. I'm going to stick with a 9.
For now, you never know.
For now, yeah, things can change. We can change our mind. Odysseus changed. Why can't I? Exceptional movie. Go watch the Odyssey. Now let's talk about Oscars really briefly. And we've been talking for so long that we're not going to talk about Oscars more. We're going to do an updated Oscar video anyway soon. But all I will say is that I do think that this is going to be obviously a very big contender. We're talking like 12, 13 nominations here. Obviously, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Score, Best Sound, Best Production Design, all those things. In terms of performances, I think that's a little bit more interesting. I think Matt Damon is probably pretty secured. I think Anne Hathaway is for sure in there. John Leguizamo, I think he's on the cusp. I think he could possibly get in there. It depends how much they really love the film. I do agree that he would be the one of the supporting actors to make it over Robert Pattinson even.
I think so.
Like you said, I think it's also just a great character.
Yeah.
Not just the performance is good. Heart and soul, you can say, of kind of the film. I think it's definitely winning sound. And I think editing is on the table to win that as well. And you know what? I'm not even going to disregard this as something that can't win Best Picture. I think it's settling itself as kind of that number 2, like our Gravity of this year, where it's like that major tech movie. I don't know. I mean, I think to win a second Oscar, you usually got to blow away your first movie. I don't think this blows away Oppenheimer, but it's so...
What are some examples of like who's won twice in a row? I mean, not twice in a row, but like twice in a few years.
In the new modern era of the Oscars, it's very rare for a director to win Best Picture twice. They can win Best Director twice. Alfonso Cuarón won Best Director twice. Alejandro González Iñárritu won twice. But Best Picture coming along with that is a little bit more rare. I do think this makes a case for being one of the best films of the year. I mean, it would require a lot of other films to just miss the mark.
Right.
It would require Digger to do horribly. It would require a lot of these movies to fall off the map. I kind of remember that being a little bit of the case with Oppenheimer. I think when it came out, I think people were like, wow, that's amazing. That's a possible Best Picture winner. Like right now, what is the biggest threat? It's Digger, which a lot of people don't believe in. It's La Bola Negra.
I still believe in Digger.
I do. I believe it. But that's our opinion on its Oscar chances. Let us know what you think its Oscar chances are. Sorry, I know this review must have been a long one, but man, the Odyssey's so epic, there's a lot to talk about. But what do you think its Oscar chances are? And what did you think about the Odyssey? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, feel free to follow us if you want on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, links in the bio. Thanks always for watching.
And we'll see you
At
the Oscars.
Getting pretty late. We could just go to sleep in these. We're kind of already in bed,
Yeah.
technically.